and welcome to this edition of Culture Mosaic, a weekly culture express that brings you the latest updates on the Vietnamese cultural and entertainment scenes. In this week's episode, we'll offer you interesting insights of Vietnamese cuisine, fashion, and the art of making books binding. Vietnamese rolls are famous for their taste and varieties. So in our culture and lifestyle segment this week, we'll take you to a small restaurant in a small alley in Hanoi and try different types of rolls there. And after trying, you may understand why the 62-year-old restaurant holds such a special place in the heart of food lovers in Hanoi. Moving on to fashion, we'll wow you with couture designs made by a Vietnamese fashion designer in Hollywood. Last but not least, we'll look into the art of book binding with a young Hanoian binder through his 200 book covers. Small restaurant offers special Vietnamese rolls. Fashion designer Bach Mai wows Hollywood couture designs. And judge a book by its binding, a young Hanoian binder's journey. And now let's begin with some local news. After nearly a year of absence, singer Min has released a music video for the song Coffee, which is included in her full-length album, 50/50, with 8 songs to mark her 8-year career. The video features eye-catching choreography and combines different musical genres such as pop, dance, R&B, and disco. Min worked on the album for 3 years and through it, hopes to conquer audiences with her personality and talent. Meanwhile, another popular tourist destination, Đà Lạt City, has been named the 3rd most beautiful flower destination in the world, after Amsterdam in the Netherlands and Funchal in Portugal. By the site Booking.com, the ranking was based on the recommendations of global travelers. Dubbed the city of thousands of flowers, Đà Lạt is home to many parks, farms, and flower festivals that attract many tourists every year. The city's most famous flower garden is located in its center, with flower arches arranged as unique gates that faces Xuân Hương Lake. The Lavender Garden in Tuyền Lâm Lake, Trại Mát Hydrangea Field, and Cherry Blossom Roads are other great places to enjoy Đà Lad's flowers. It's currently the blooming season of red seal cotton flowers in the northern border province of Hà Giang. Many tourists have come to the province to admire and take pictures of the flower field scenery. The flowers' blooming season usually begins in early March and lasts until mid-April, signaling the end of spring and the approach of summer. This kind of flower does not need to be planted as its seeds are spread naturally by the wind. When visiting Hà Giang province this season, visitors can admire and create beautiful memories with the red silk cotton flower. Mộc Châu is not only famous for its many historical sites, stunning landscapes, and unique cuisine, but also for its beautiful flower streets. From the month of March until April, after the peach blossoms have faded, the plum flowers here start to bloom. Meanwhile, the forests and mountains of the northwest become resplendent with ban flowers. In Thai, ban means sweet flower. When spring arrives, Mộc Châu and the northwest in general become ban flower heaven. As such, it's considered a symbol of the northwest region. In this week's Culture and Lifestyle section, we will take you to a 62-year-old restaurant located in a small alley in Hanoi. This restaurant does not sell fancy food. Instead, you would be surprised to find in the menu just a few simple Vietnamese roll dishes. And what has helped this restaurant survive in the middle of a street food paradise of Hanoi? The answer is coming your way in just a minute.
In the middle of the food heaven that is Hanoi, sellers always find their own ways to attract customers. They have to update their menus and recipes constantly. However, Zung's small shop on Tran Xuân Son Street is an exception.
Tôi là Nguyễn Thị Kim Dung. Cứ độ 2 giờ đến 2 rưỡi chiều là tôi đến 46 Trần Xuân Soạn để tôi bán hàng quà chiều cho khách đến ăn. Nhà tôi bán là gồm có 7 loại cuốn. Gia đình nhà tôi tự hào nhất cái món truyền thống của người Hà Nội, tức là món bún cuốn diếp. Cái món này là món truyền thống từ xa xưa và bây giờ tôi cảm thấy như là mai một người Hà Nội bây giờ không có thể bán ở đâu mấy nữa.
It's not hard to find the ingredients for the lettuce rolls. Each roll features lettuce, vermicelli, sliced pork, and shrimp tied up with boiled spring onions.
Khách nói này, chị ơi chị, em làm có thể con tôm to hơn, cái miếng thịt có thể ngon hơn, nhưng mà em cuốn không thể ngon bằng nhà chị. Thế thì gia đình nhà mình có cái đặc trưng của nó, đặc trưng riêng. Thành phần quan trọng nhất là gồm có cái bát bỗng này.
Bong is a kind of fermented distiller grain. It's cooked with molasses for over 3 hours and then placed into the rolls. That is the secret behind this exquisite dish of Hanoi. In the old times, Hanoians often made this dish during Tet holiday. It may look very simple, but it's actually very sophisticated. Using similar ingredients, each family has its own way of making the dish. The difference lies in the use of bong.
Năm 2000 mẹ tôi có nói là con bán hàng cho mẹ nghỉ. Con cho mẹ 1 triệu thang thuốc bằng con bán vì cái hàng ở nhà mình nó là gia truyền từ lâu rồi. Giờ mẹ để cho mẹ yên tâm mẹ nghỉ thì tôi bán giờ thì nhờ rời khách vẫn đông rồi, nói chung là cũng là để mà nguồn thu nhập chính thì bây giờ nó là ăn được mấy đâu. Thế thì để mà thứ nhất là cái sức khỏe của mình hoạt động để lấy được cái sức khỏe. Thứ hai là cái bảo tồn cái gia truyền bí quyết của gia đình nhà tôi từ xưa đến nay và món cổ truyền.
Zung's shop is just one of many food stalls selling food in Hanoi. These food stalls help preserve and promote old Hanoian food secrets.
Người Hà Nội khi đã nấu ăn dù bữa cỗ rất thịnh soạn hoặc là những cái món ăn đơn giản thì họ đều đặt cái tâm trí và những bí quyết của mình vào đấy.
For young people, this is a place where they can enjoy a fresh and exquisite Hanoi dish. Meanwhile, older people come here to enjoy a nostalgic dish.
Tôi ăn ở đây lâu lắm rồi, từ hồi bà cụ còn sống, mẹ cô còn sống. Ở đây ngon, Hà Nội truyền thống, Hà Nội cổ là sẽ ăn món đấy.
Hiện nay thì có rất nhiều lý thuyết dạy bán hàng, nhưng tôi nghĩ cái phương pháp bán hàng lấy được cảm xúc vẫn là những cái phương thức đặc biệt nhất.
Restaurants like Zung's shop have helped introduce Vietnam's dishes to people from around the world. From traditional family dishes to street food, Hanoi's lettuce rolls have become well known on the international culinary map, reaching the hearts of tourists from all over the world in a simple but meaningful way.
Vietnamese excellence can be found in the most competitive parts of the world. And in one of the 4 capitals of fashion, a Vietnamese designer can be seen thriving with clients coming from all corners of Hollywood. To find out more about this amazing talent, let us take you on a trip to New York through This Week on the Mic.
Haute couture, the highest level of garment making, is an art that not all tailors have the chance to learn, let alone master it and make a living out of it. Yet, a Vietnamese designer has been able to do that and more. Bạch Mai is, quoted by Vogue, a couturier in the making, and celebrities can't get enough of his designs. From Tessa Thompson's to Venus Williams, he has dressed them all, and they love it. With a new collection just debuted in the 2022 New York Fashion Week, Bạch Mai is ecstatic about the prospect of bringing back the tradition of American couture.
Hello Bạch Mai. First of all, I'm so happy for your new collection and the raving reviews it is currently getting. Can you tell us about your love of haute couture and when did it start for you?
The great love of my life has always been haute couture. It's been what I've loved since I was very young. So it was John Spring Summer 2004 Dior Couture Show, the Egyptian collection. And that's when I first was really exposed to this world of haute couture and what it could be and the kind of expression and creativity that was possible through clothing.
Can you tell me more about your fashion journey? How can one learn about the art of haute couture and how to make them?
I started, I should say, learning about haute couture when I was in high school. And then obviously I went to school. I went to Parsons here in New York for fashion design. And then I studied, then I worked at Oscar de la Renta, who is a famous couturier here in America. He did couture at Balmain when he was in France. And then I went to France to get my master's degree. And then I worked with John Galliano at Maison Margiela. And so then to learn from, not only from him as a couture designer, but to be in France, working with the haute couture ateliers there, with these, the petits mains, as they call them, you know, the women and the men who are doing the sewing and the pattern making, that this tradition and this heritage and this knowledge that's been passed down from generation to generation. That's really the only way to do it. I mean, to really do and to work and to learn from people through which this heritage and this history and this knowledge has been passed down through generations.
And could you tell me the people who have had the honor to don a Bạch Mai garment?
Speaking of my personal collection, we've had amazing people from Midori Francis, who's this Japanese-American actress, Tessa Thompson very recently, Kate Beckinsale wore just this dress that's right behind me. And then we did a custom dress for Venus Williams for the movie premiere about her life, which was great. I got to fly to LA and I did the fitting with her. And it's amazing. When I was there, I worked with an amazing tailor who's like kind of become one of the tailors to the stars for their celebrities, who was also Vietnamese.
Speaking of Vietnamese people, do you see a lot of Vietnamese presence in the fashion industry?
It's been very interesting. Since I've launched, I've really gotten to meet so many more Vietnamese people in the industry, from editors to model agents to, tailors. It's been really amazing to see that there's a growing presence of Vietnamese people in the industry. And of course, recently, Peter Do just had his first runway show in New York, which was the biggest show of the week, and he's been so great. And I even remember when I did my preview for my collection 2 months ago, and you know, one of the fashion editors at a major magazine is Vietnamese, and even his response to us was like, of course, he's so excited to support a Vietnamese designer, and so to come see the collection. So I think that's, again, it's just about diversifying the kind of stories that are being told, and then it's also nice to have people that can relate to those stories in that way.
Born and raised in Houston, Texas, in a large community of Vietnamese people, the Vietnamese identity left Bạch Mai a strong foundation for his career growth. From a very young age, Bạch Mai never felt like he has to hide his interests, but instead, he was greatly supported by his friends and families, especially his father, who is an engineer, a job that one may think to be the farthest from clothes making.
My father has been so supportive the entire way. You know, even when I was in high school, he would be driving me to the fabric store every weekend so I could learn and touch and see these fabrics and continue learning, driving me to sewing class. He's never questioned that being a fashion designer was what I should do, even till now, and helping me start the company. I'm very proud of my Vietnamese heritage. And there's, again, having grown up in such a Vietnamese culture, exposed to so much Vietnamese culture, you know, it's just a part of who I am. My family members and the people that the Vietnamese community that I've been around, they really formed me. And so you also have the idea of discipline and tenacity, but also the importance of education has been really big. You know, that alone, the stress that's been placed on education in my family and in the Vietnamese community has definitely pushed my love of learning and growing in that sense.
You just mentioned that you are very inspired by the Vietnamese culture. So might we see a Bạch Mai's outside collection soon?
There's also this Vietnamese view of femininity that I find very fascinating. And when I see for events or for weddings or for Tết, when, you know, the women and my aunts would dress up in áo dài, it's the way I even think about the way the tailoring and the fit of an áo dài. You know, it's both very, very fitted, very tight on the top, but with a very billowing bottom, but you're almost completely covered up. There's this interesting dynamic of sensuality and femininity, but also modesty that's very interesting. The next collection, I'm coming out with a very, very slim, straight skirt, which is very, very reminiscent of an áo dài shape. And I do hope to one day be able to produce a collection that really highlights that design feature as well when the time is right. You know?
Thank you so much for your time, Bạch Mai, and we hope that your future collection will receive even more support.
Bookbinding was introduced in Vietnam as early as during the French colonialism era. However, the laborious craft has been dying out as technology advances and enables books to be mass-produced fast. But an art graduate in Hanoi has been so fascinated by traditional bookbinding craft that he has decided to pursue this career. He has so far completed nearly 200 books over the course of 4 years and has secured special projects with a major publisher. We sat down with the young bookbinder this week to discuss his passion and learn why this traditional craft is still revered by many despite modernization.
This is a special copy of Manual of Bookbinding by Arthur Johnson. Trần Trung Hiếu redesigned and rebound the book himself to mark his 4-year journey as a self-taught bookbinder. He followed techniques detailed by Johnson in that very book and finished with his own design on the cover. Hiếu binds all his books and notebooks by hand. He adheres firmly to classical technique, which often involves leather binding and gilding on the spines or covers. Now a more experienced binder, Hiếu also experiments with modern-looking designs that reflect the content of the books while still using traditional materials and tools.
Trước tiên là điểm khác biệt giữa hai cái kiểu sách công nghiệp và sách cổ điển, nó là sách công nghiệp thường nó sẽ được đẩy nhanh các tiến độ bằng máy móc. Dĩ nhiên là nó có ưu điểm là chi phí sản xuất nó sẽ rất là rẻ và có thể nhiều người tiếp cận hơn với sách. Nhưng mà để mà nói đến việc giữ một cuốn sách để trong một thời gian dài, ví dụ kiểu hơn 100 năm ấy, thì chỉ có đóng sách bằng tay mới có khả năng bảo vệ cuốn sách như thế. Đóng sách bằng tay thì mình sẽ chăm chút từng công đoạn, nên là từ cấu trúc này đến cách làm này, vật liệu bọc đều sử dụng vật liệu chất lượng cao. Thế nên là cuốn sách đóng bằng tay nó rất là bền và nó có khả năng phục chế lại được.
Traditionally, bookbinding requires lots of time and an array of tools. Sewing, binding, and pressing take a total of 3 to 5 days. For more complicated works, finishing can take 1 to 2 months. Since the traditional craft is no longer popular in Vietnam, acquiring tools from here has been a challenge for Hiếu. But that's not even the biggest difficulty. He has had to scout around for books and information and learn by trial and error.
Mình đã mất khoảng từ 2 đến 3 năm để mình bắt đầu hiểu được các thứ cơ bản thì mình mới bắt đầu làm nghề được, chứ còn những kỹ thuật nâng cao thì chắc chắn là phải học rất là lâu, không nói là đến cả đời. Cũng may mắn là mình có một chút ngoại ngữ nên là mình có thể tiếp cận các tài liệu này với cả các hội nhóm nước ngoài và mình học luôn từ đấy. Tiếp theo nữa là về mặt thiếu thốn về vật liệu và dụng cụ. Các dụng cụ nó rất là đắt và nó hiếm nên là mình phải nhập từng cái về trong một khoảng thời gian rất dài mới có đủ được các cái mình cần. Và tự chế các dụng cụ cơ bản để làm việc, ví dụ như là máy ép này, bàn khâu này, đấy, tất cả những thứ kiểu đồ gỗ liên quan mà mình có thể làm được ngay trong nước.
For Hiếu, hand binding is the best treatment a book can get. Despite mechanization and digitalization, printed books in general and bookbinding craft remain valuable to many. With a growing interest in handcrafted special editions from book lovers as well as publishers, the young bookbinder no longer feels lonely in his journey.
Cách đây 2 năm, mình có tốt nghiệp thạc sĩ kiến trúc về đề tài nghiên cứu về tính địa phương và nét truyền thống của các cộng đồng thiểu số ở miền Bắc Việt Nam. Và để thể hiện toàn vẹn nhất khái niệm thủ công, mình đã chọn đóng sách bằng tay để thể hiện sách luận án của mình. Thì mình đã thiết kế bìa sách và gửi gắm cho Hiếu. Sở hữu một cuốn sách được đóng rất là chắc tay, thủ công thì cảm giác như là được sở hữu một vật thể độc nhất vô nhị vậy. Thế nên là cảm giác nó rất là sướng. Và cùng là làm trong ngành nghệ thuật thì mình rất là tôn trọng sự theo đuổi nét truyền thống của các bạn trẻ hiện nay, lấy lại những nét đẹp của nghệ thuật truyền thống ngày xưa để tạo ra các sản phẩm đương đại, vừa lạ mà vừa quen.
Cái nghề đóng sách thì đã từ một cái ngành công nghiệp trở thành một môn nghệ thuật, và các thợ đóng sách cũng là như là một nghệ nhân, mỗi người mang một màu sắc khác nhau. Đối với mình thì nghề đóng sách thỏa mãn rất là nhiều cái mà mình thích, là mình được sáng tác này, mình được học hỏi và mình được lao động chân tay. Các công đoạn đóng sách đối với mình nhiều khi nó như là có cảm giác thiền, và cái tâm hồn của mình rất là tĩnh lặng khi mình làm việc. Nhiều khi nó như là liệu pháp tâm hồn của riêng mình.
And that is the end of our program. So if you'd like to catch us online, download the VTV Go app from your Google Play or App Store, or simply tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go for more of our programs. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode of Culture Mosaic. Goodbye for now.